The funeral home was downstairs, and our home was upstairs. It was scary living above somewhere that stores dead bodies. To most teens and young adults, this probably sounds cool, but as a child, it was terrifying. I would jump and get scared of every noise and creak in the house. I would often ask my dad about the afterlife. He said there were no such things as ghosts, and when we're dead, we're dead. I suppose it takes that kind of mentality to do a job like my dad's. He was the town's mortician and would prepare everything from the embalming to the makeup and of a dead body before a funeral. On this one occasion, the body of a young boy was sent to our home. His name was Michael, and he went to my school. I didn't really know him, as he was 3 years younger than me. Michael had drowned in the bath at home. A tragic story, and in such a small community town, it's something everyone feels. We had all seen or met Michael at some point or another. I remember seeing my dad's face when they brought the body into the home. Sad is an understatement. He had tears in his eyes. I'd never seen him like that before. Sometimes I used to think he wasn't human for not showing any emotion at the sight of a dead person, but this I know he felt. I'm not sure if he had ever had to prep a child before. It certainly wasn't a question I wanted to ask him. The funeral was set to be in 3 days. There had been some delays in making the arrangements due to the autopsy. Michael's parents were both under investigation due to the suspicious circumstances. The first night Michael's body was with us, I was in my room playing my PlayStation when I heard a sound of running water coming from the bathroom. I assumed it was my dad, but then I heard someone whisper my name. Thomas. I paused the game and looked to my bedroom door but couldn't see anyone. I shouted at my dad, but he didn't answer. I unpaused my game, and after another few minutes, I heard it again. Thomas. I paused the game again and went to the bathroom down the hall, thinking it was probably my dad drawing me a bath. I could hear the water running as I walked up to the bathroom door, which was closed. I opened the door slowly. The room fell silent. There were no taps running. I freaked out and ran downstairs to tell my dad. He told me to stop messing about. That was literally the extent of my dad's parenting in these situations. Stop messing about and grow up. I went back up to my room and put my game back on. I didn't hear anything else for the next 2 days. The night before Michael's funeral, I was in my room doing my homework when I heard my dad shout my name. I came to the door of my bedroom and saw my dad standing there in the hall. "Yes, Dad?" I said. "I didn't call you, son." I looked at him confused and asked, "Then who did?" "I don't know, but I heard it too." I slept in my dad's room that night, and the next day Michael's body was buried. My dad told me years later that he heard noises while Michael's body was with us. Anything from hearing water running to the TV turning on while he was sleeping, and even footsteps walking around his bedroom. I think he now believes in ghosts. After saving up to buy our first house, me and my girlfriend Jennifer finally moved into our own home. We'd been living with my parents, which wasn't always the best living arrangement to have, but we wanted to try and save to put towards a bigger house. Finally, after 3 years of living with my parents, we purchased our own home at an auction, and we moved in around August last year. The first few weeks seemed pretty normal. We decorated, moved our furniture in, and unboxed all of our belongings. After about 3 weeks, I was going to bed one night and saw a man standing in the shadows across the street, watching our house. He saw me up at the window, and so I waved. All the neighbors had been friendly so far, and I just assumed it was someone we hadn't had the chance to meet. As I waved, the man turned and started walking slowly down the street. He was an older gentleman and walked with a walking stick. He was wearing a cap and had long white hair and a beard, and although it was dark, you could tell he was unkempt. I figured he was probably just some nosy neighbor or something and wanted to see what the new residents looked like, and I thought no more of it. A few days passed when I was going to work one morning. I saw the same man standing across the street staring at our house. Again I waved, but he never waved back, and this time he just stood there staring. Jennifer was still in bed as it was her day off, and I didn't really feel comfortable leaving her alone with this guy scoping our house. I saw one of the neighbors coming out of their house. I shouted over to them and walked over, asking if they knew who this man was. "That's Trevor. Trevor used to live in your house until the bank took it off him last year. He'd lived there for over 40 years. His wife died 2 years ago, and they didn't have any kids, so he's just on his own now. I heard he lives in a nursing home not too far away." Trevor looked over towards us talking, and my neighbor waved and called over to him, but Trevor turned around and walked away. As he was now leaving, I got in my car and started my drive to work. I was about 10 minutes into my journey when Jennifer called me saying she heard a window shatter downstairs. I told her to lock herself in the ensuite bathroom and call the police and I would come straight home. I arrived home and came through the front door. I could hear shouting coming from upstairs. I ran upstairs to see Trevor in our bedroom, banging on the bathroom door, shouting for Joan to let him in. I shouted to Jennifer, asking if she was hurt. She said she was safe and still had the police on the phone. Trevor was obviously not well, and although he had broken into our home, I assessed quite quickly that he wasn't much of a threat. I tried to talk to Trevor, but he just continually hit his fist on the bathroom door. 2 police officers eventually arrived, and I shouted at them from upstairs. I explained that I was the homeowner, and my girlfriend was locked in the bathroom. The 2 police officers handled the situation with care and compassion. They came in and spoke to Trevor and said he needed to go with them. Trevor didn't put up a fight, but seemed rather shocked that the police were there. He said his wife Joan was here, and he was looking for her. They led him away, and we told the police officers that we didn't want to press charges, but to please make sure he knows that he can't return. We haven't seen Trevor again since. I can only imagine what it's like to lose the home you spent 40 years of your life living with someone you love, so I don't blame him. I just hope he's somewhere safe and getting the support he needs. Me and a bunch of my friends would go to our friend Mitch's house on a Saturday. His parents would often go out on a Saturday, meaning we could all hang out there unsupervised until they came home, and that would usually be near midnight. We would play different games and have boxing and wrestling matches and beat each other up. We learned about this game called Murder in the Dark, where you would all pull a piece of paper out of a hat. One of the pieces of paper said detective, and one said killer. All the others would say civilian. Once all players had their role, the detective would then turn out the lights and wait in one location while everyone else ran off in different directions. When the killer tagged someone, that person would scream, and the detective and everyone else would come and find you and try to figure out who the killer was. You would all have to make up alibis. It was pretty lame, but we all got to run around and hide in the dark, which was scary. It was especially fun if you were the killer. Mitch had a huge back garden with lots of trees in it, perfect for running around and hiding in the dark. However, to make the game more exciting, whoever was killed first had to run down the street in their underwear as a forfeit. I didn't want to do this, so as the detective turned out the lights and hid out of sight, instead of running out into the garden, I tiptoed downstairs and hid in the basement. This wasn't cheating as we hadn't specified any areas you could or couldn't hide. The door to the basement was next to the back door that led out into the garden, so it seemed like the perfect hiding place. I sat there for several minutes before hearing a rustling sound coming from the other side of the room. I didn't see or hear anyone else come down and thought maybe it was just a mouse or something. Then I heard it again, but this time it was louder and sounded far too big to be a mouse. I tried to look around the room, but the only light in there was coming through a small window to the side. Then I saw a shadow move. "Hello?" A voice replied back. "It's me. Keep quiet or they'll find us." I didn't recognize the voice, but he spoke softly, so I didn't really overthink which of my friends it could have been. I kept quiet. I didn't want to be the one running down the street in my underwear. A few minutes later, I heard a scream outside. Someone had been caught. I stood up and started to make my way to the stairs. "Are you coming? The game's over." No one replied. I didn't hear anyone leave. I turned on the light to see a man I didn't know crouched down behind some boxes. I ran up the stairs as fast as I could. The man chased after me, but instead of following me into the back garden where all my friends were, he ran straight through the house and out of the front door and straight into the arms of the police. The man had stabbed someone in a robbery at a local convenience store and was seen fleeing to our street. The police were checking gardens for him when one of the officers heard the scream from us playing Murder in the Dark and thought it might have been the man breaking into someone's house. 2 police officers came to speak to us and asked if we knew where he'd been hiding in the house. I told them I had seen him in the basement. They found a knife in an old toy box that had fresh blood on it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing.